Good evening, OCPS families. My name is Victoria Tierney. I'm the Senior Administrator for Parent and Family Engagement, and we are so excited that you are able to join us this evening for, I think, a really valuable use of our time. We have Zanetta Schaefer, who is the administrator, SEDNet administrator for Osceola and Orange County. And what she's going to share with us today, the topic of her presentation is My Child's Stress is Stressing Me Out. And I really think this is a great time, a perfect opportunity for all of us to kind of look at where are stress levels? How do we help our children build resiliency during stressful times? I mean, we're going into February already. Can you believe it?
I can't.
February. It's it creeps up on you.
It
And
does.
it's
I
a
can't believe we're here already.
Right. It's a time when our families are really starting to feel some of the pressure of kind of buckling down because we're coming up into testing season. And so there's a lot going on. So I'm really glad you could be with us this evening. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I'm not going to take up too much time because I do think this is a really important topic. We were kind of chatting a little bit, and I know you said resiliency is a hot topic right now. But
Yes.
why do you think it's such a hot topic right now?
I think that just, us coming from a pandemic and getting back into the swing of what our new normal looks like, stress is at an all-time high. So with that, it just, our kids are stressed, the parents are stressed,
Yeah.
and I think that resiliency truly does matter right now. We need to understand what it means and find ways of how to become more resilient.
Well, I'm really glad that you could join us tonight. I know our parents are going to be find this information very valuable. So, without further ado, I'm going to let you tell our parents what to do when their child stress is stressing them out.
Of course. Thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for having me. So, in order to get the most out of our time together, there are certain expectations and commitments that we will be utilizing tonight. Let's take a moment to briefly review the information that I'm going to share on this next slide. So, these are our commitments to help us interact during our time together. We are making these commitments to you, and we ask that you make these commitments to each of us. When our expectations and commitments join together, we create an optimal virtual learning environment. Okay, so let's see. Now that we have had the opportunity to share our commitments and expectations for tonight, let's go ahead and take some time to build community. And community builders will help us build relationships with one another and will support collaborative interactions and discussions throughout the session. So we're going to go ahead and look at this community builder here. So let's have a little interaction from the audience. Let me see now who we may have online and in the chat. So, Victoria, are you able to see who we have?
Yes, I can, and I'll be monitoring the chat. So I already put up a comment to let parents know that if they to use the chat box to share any questions or comments, and certainly use it to be able to interact with you.
Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and use emojis or high fives. And within this interaction, we're going to say, we're going to do an activity called That's True About Me. So I'm going to make a statement. And if that statement is true to you, you're going to go ahead and use the emoji or the high five. And you're just going to put that in the chat. So if you are a parent, go ahead and use that emoji. If you have a teenager, go ahead and use that emoji. If you have a child, go ahead and use that emoji. And if you ever worry about your child's mental well-being, go ahead and use that emoji. Thank you so much for engaging in this community builder. Before we're going to move forward, let's discuss how engaging in this activity will help us as we learn more about my child's stress is stressing me out. So here's the thing. When we're looking at these activities, Why did we even start that activity? We have commonalities in this room in that we are all parents who have concerns at times about how our children are doing emotionally. You're not alone in the worries. So please feel free to openly talk about your thoughts as we present information, especially through the chat box. Um, we're going to be presenting a lot of information on stress and anxiety in children and adolescents today. So just raise your hand anytime throughout our time together, and there's no need for you to wait until the end. Here's a glimpse of how we will spend our time together tonight. We will give some foundational information on stress and anxiety, and then move into some ways that you can help your child to learn how to handle it in a more positive way. Keep in mind that everything we talk about today also applies to you. Stress and anxiety is experienced by parents too, and the information as well as strategies to deal with stress can help you just as much as it can help your children. You and your child can practice these strategies together, and it is a win win situation. What do you think is the most common mental health concern in the United States? Could it be depression, anxiety, ADHD, psychosis, or perhaps maybe something else? Let's take a poll by entering in the chat. When I say the mental health concern that you believe is the most common, your choices will be depression, anxiety, ADHD, and psychosis. You're going to put an emoji if you think depression is the most common. Go ahead and do that now. How about anxiety? Okay, and how about ADHD? And how about psychosis? Thank you for participating in that activity. So, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, anxiety disorders are the most common mental health concern in the entire United States, with over 40 million adults having some type of anxiety disorder. That is 19.1% of the population. Approximately 7% of children ages 3 through 17 experience issues with anxiety each year, and most develop symptoms of anxiety by the age of 21. This means that there are a lot of children and teenagers who are experiencing anxiety. There are even more children who are experiencing stress, and I will explain the difference between stress and anxiety next. The most the more that we understand how to help our children deal with stress, the more we give them skills that will help them throughout their lives, because as you very well know, stress does not go away at all into adulthood. Stress is the body's reaction to a threat. Anxiety is the body's reaction to stress. So stress comes first and then comes anxiety, and it can lead to anxiety if it's not managed well. We all experience stress, but it does not always become a debilitating in the same way for everyone. It's not as debilitating. So stress is a short term in response to a specific situation that feels uncomfortable or threatening. Anxiety, however, is stress that does not lessen over time, and it exists almost always as an undercurrent in how someone responds to all situations. Anxiety is when the stress doesn't really go away. A person with anxiety feels the effects of stress even when there is not a significant event to become stressed about. When a person has anxiety, their brain and nervous system become wired to respond to every event with a stress response. So, as adults that manage a lot of big stressful events in our lives, I think sometimes it is hard to imagine that our children have much to stress about, but the reality is that we as adults have learned over time how to manage our stress so we can handle it better. Our children, however, they don't yet have the same skills to smaller stressors, and this can cause a bigger reaction. These are just some of the potential stressors that our children face every day. From the statistics we showed earlier, We know that many children are not coping well with the stressors that they are facing, and it is having a rather negative impact on them. I mentioned that stress is what comes before anxiety, and that if we learn ways that we can deal with stress, then anxiety is less likely to develop. How do you know when your child is having trouble managing stress and that there may be an anxiety issue? On this slide are some of the warning signs that you can watch for. Mental symptoms of anxiety cannot always be seen since they are more of an internal feeling your child may be having. So there are sometimes you will get some clues about these symptoms in the way they speak or the way that they act. If their conversations with you often include statements about either being overwhelmed or they can't keep up or they can't seem to relax, these are all clues to pay attention to. If they have trouble focusing on their schoolwork or any other task that requires concentration, or they are avoiding what is making them anxious altogether, those are also clues. Because the reality is that the body responds to stress by releasing stress hormones. There's an impact physically as well sometimes. The stress hormones can affect the major organs of the body, such as the heart, the lungs, and the stomach. And you may notice that a child has stomach aches, a hard time falling asleep, a lot of tiredness. In more severe cases, you could see symptoms of a panic attack where there is a rapid breathing, perhaps, or heart palpitations, sweating. A common reaction is avoidance behaviors. That's where we see that a child will avoid the situation that causes them the feeling of stress or anxiety. If someone starts to feel stressed or anxious all or a lot of the time, they should seek professional support. There are different types of professional supports available, such as therapists who can help your child learn ways to manage their feelings of stress, or psychiatrists who can possibly prescribe medications. A resource that you can use to find professionals to help your child cope with anxiety is Community Connect. This is a resource directory that can be found on the OCPS homepage under Current Families. Click on Community Connect from the left sidebar options. You will put your zip code in the search box and then find the option at the top of the screen for mental health and wellness. Another resource in the community that is available 24 hours a day is the Mobile Crisis Team. If you find that you are in a real mental health crisis where you are concerned about the immediate safety and well being of your child, this resource is available by calling 211. When you ask for the mobile crisis team for a mental health issue, the person at 211 will connect you to the mobile crisis people. Okay, what do you do when you are feeling stressed? Let's see something. I might have skipped ahead. Okay. Many of the ways that you can support your child with learning to cope with stress are similar to what you do yourself when you are facing stress. You may not realize all of the various things you do to calm down your stress response. So let's do some intentional thinking about it. Let's do a little mental activity together. So, if you are at home right now and you can do so, if you are able to, I would like for you to go ahead and stand up. If you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. Take some deep breaths by following along with me in my prompts. Okay, here we go. Do 3 very slow, deep breaths while counting aloud. If you have someone next to you, look at the person and say, "You've got this." Or look in the mirror or just say it to yourself. You've got this. That was a simple activity that many find helpful to de stress. Now, why is this? Because it includes slowing down, clearing your mind, and connecting with another person who is helping shape your way of thinking by encouraging you. So, that is an example of a few things that you can help to de stress. Let's talk about some other things that we can do to manage our stress. Ask my thoughts. What are some examples of things that you do when you are stressed? For example, when I am stressed, I tend to make a lot of lists to organize. Who do you seek out when you are stressed? Why? What does that trusted person say that helps you to calm down? When we just did that breathing exercise, we followed it with the phrase, "You've got this." The reason people say these words of phrases is because it helps to stop negative thought process that may be going through your head when you are stressed. One way to help youth learn self-regulation and calming skills is to help them to keep the situation in proper perspective. Oftentimes, the youth we find that have a lot of anxiety are stuck in negative ways of thinking, and we can help shift their perspective to decrease the stress involved in the situation by asking questions or using 4 prompts. What is the likely outcome? Have you ever had a youth say, "This is the worst thing that could have happened"? When youth focus on worst possible outcomes, it increases their level of stress, further causing them to not be able to focus on problem solving the situation. So, helping youth to focus on likely outcomes rather than worst outcomes can help. It is also helpful to guide youth to think through whether the amount of energy that they are putting into their emotional response equals the size of the problem. You can do this by asking them what the worst problem they can think of is. Once they identify this very big problem, such as dying or something equally drastic, then you can help step them back to how this problem compares in size to the worst problem ever. Oftentimes, this helps youth to see that the problem is not as bad as they think and that they can manage to overcome it. Youth do not have the same lifetime of experiences as we do. So sometimes this leads to them to for them to think that whatever the bad situation that they are facing now will last forever. We as adults have been through a lot and have a better perspective on how temporary most problem situations are. Helping guide a youth to understand that in weeks, months, years from now, they may not even remember the current situation because it is small or temporary. Of course, now, this is a very gentle conversation. You don't want to give the impression that you are discounting the impact that a situation is having on them or that you don't understand the importance to them. And then you have self defeating thoughts often become with words like, "I never" or "I can't." And this leaves no room for progress because hope is undermined. Help your children learn to add the transformative word "yet" to their thoughts. "I can't solve this problem" becomes, "I can't solve this problem yet." Let's take a moment to unpack our time together so far. So far, we have learned that we all experience stress, but some of us are more impacted by stress than others. When we have strong skills to manage our stress response, then stress can be short term and situational. When we do not have strong skills to manage that stress response, it can lead to an anxiety issue that is general in nature rather than only present when there is a stressful event taking place. Anxiety can have a lot of symptoms, both mental and physical. When a person is having trouble managing their stress and it is beginning to impact their daily functioning negatively, then seeking professional help may be warranted. Some research were shared on how to access professional support both in the community and as well as in OCPS. We just now talked about how many of the things that you do to calm your own stress response are the same things that your child needs to learn. One strategy we talked about was helping to shape the way that your child thinks about a stressful situation and ways that you can rephrase things for them. So, With all that being said, are you ready to hear about some more strategies that you can use to help your child? We have something called co-regulation. Co-regulation can help us teach our children an important skill: self-regulation. Self-regulation is the ability to manage your strong emotions independently, even in times of stress. This slide includes examples of self-regulation skills. Many of our students who are quick to be overcome by their brain's stressors response may be missing some of these skill sets. They have strong emotional reactions to upsetting situations, having a difficult time coping with frustrations, and find it hard to calm down when they get upset. The good news is that self-regulation skills can be learned. So, rather than thinking, how can I get my child to stop overreacting to being so upset? Begin thinking, what skill is my child missing that keeps them from being able to calm themselves down? And how can I help them regulate? Like a coach on a sports team, caregivers should first teach skills and then provide needed supports or scaffolding for self regulation enactment in the moment. So here we have caregiver behaviors that can contribute to co-regulation. Imagine trying to get out of the door to get somewhere and your 5-year-old is crying and your 8-year-old is yelling at the top to tell them to stop crying. You're trying to talk over both of them to get them into the car. Almost every parent has experienced a scenario where there involves a power struggle and a heightened sense of stress. Co-regulation between adults and children is a supportive practice that can only help reduce power struggles, but can increase problem-solving skills and, most importantly, promote calm and self-regulation for the child. As caregivers, there are behaviors that can contribute to successful co-regulation. Factors like our relationships, the environment in which we exist, and our own self-regulation skills. According to the Duke University research brief that is referenced on this slide, the capacity for self-regulation develops over time. So from infancy through young adulthood and beyond. The graph below presents a theoretical model of the balance of a young person's capacity for self-regulation and need for adult support. The exact ratio will vary by individual. In order to function well in managing one's own emotions, your bucket must be full. When children are very young, they rely on the caregiver to help fill their bucket because they do not have their own abilities to cope with emotions and stress. As they get older, however, they are able to gain more skills that they may need less co-regulation support by their caregiver. You can see in the slide that there are two time frames circled, preschool and adolescent. Why do you think those two times are highlighted on this graph? Go ahead and put your answers in the chat. Perfect. They're highlighted here because early childhood and adolescence are the time periods where self-regulation can increase dramatically because of corresponding changes in brain development. These are the biggest opportunities for caregivers to help children build their ability to manage their emotion and stress response. Your response matters. When trying to teach regulation, especially when you are modeling and co regulating with your child, first things first, breathe. It is really hard to tend to a child that is emotional or upset when you may also be emotionally escalated. Even if it's brief, taking a few deep breaths can do wonders for your nervous system. Positive self-talk can also help you to self-regulate so you can begin co-regulation. Model self-regulation. Modeling self-regulation helps you stay calm and also helps your child to stay calm in stressful situations. This allows them to gain skills that they take into adulthood. Practice co-regulation together. Co-regulation can look like doing a breathing exercise together, blowing bubbles for young children, star breathing, a walk in nature, a brain break. It can also look like naming feelings and emotions and using words to express them. Co-regulation can include utilizing what you have where you are or designating a safe space or a calm space at home to provide visual prompts or tools. And make use of a calm space. Practicing self-regulation and co-regulation with your child can include a designated space. Regardless where you are, if the situation arises, practicing at home is sometimes the easiest way to model self-regulation. Remember to make your environment as calm as possible. Less technology and distractions, the better. Co-regulating with your child in a calm space allows for opportunities for connections. As parents, we can model self-regulation like we mentioned in earlier slides. We can also create spaces in our home, in our environment, and in our routines to provide tools and strategies for self-regulation. Spaces can include a space set aside at home in a bedroom, living room, or a common area that the family chooses. A space can include pictures of feelings and tools for young children. A space can also be used on the go. For example, a calm down kit for when you are traveling or if you are in the car a lot due to after school activities. Let's take a moment to unpack our time together so far. We have heard about the impact stress and anxiety can have in our lives and in the lives of our children. We have also learned what is important for caregivers to remember when modeling the teaching children how to self regulate. We talked about how you can be co regulator to help your child gain skills that will help them now and in their future as they grow into young adults in adulthood. Now, let's debrief this experience. Consider the question on the slide. How will this information help you help your child at home as they deal with their own stress and anxiety? Let's go ahead and take a moment and chat through some of these responses. Perfect.
Vanetta, I would give some people a little bit of time because I do think this is a really important question. Like we've gone through all of this, and
Hmm.
those of our families that are participating and are there with us, um, definitely we want you to share. Go ahead and share some of the ways that you actively right now help your child with this skill. And if you aren't able to actively help your child right now, go ahead and share in the chat. What are some of the ways that you plan to help your child? Like I have to say, I just commented in the chat how much I absolutely love the idea of a calm down kit in the car.
I was
Uh,
thinking that too. I was thinking that, Victoria. I was going to say that, I'm a mom of four. So for me, I tend to have quite a bit of, I understand when there are power struggles and using a calm down kit or even just creating a safe space in the home is something that I think that I'm going to try to incorporate in my own home. Because we have bedrooms and we have different spaces, but sometimes somewhere just for them to know like this is what we do in this area.
right. And I think the other important part of that too, Zanetta, is that there's a difference between a timeout and a calm down space.
Yes,
That those really shouldn't be the same areas in your
correct.
home
Mhm.
because honestly, time out is I need you to kind of separate and think. Calm down means that we're giving you a safe space, but we also want you to actively use some of those strategies.
Correct.
I know for our granddaughter, she's 3.5, and you were talking about early childhood being a time when you really have to actively teach self-regulation.
Yes.
And she can go from 0 to 60 sometimes. And it may not even seem reasonable to me why that would cause this particular meltdown. But we've been working with her on even using, when I say props, using tools. So the idea of an artificial flower. And what we teach her is you have to smell the flower, and then you can pick up the pinwheel and blow the pinwheel.
Oh, I
And the
like
fact
that.
that, yeah, the fact that she's got to use two things means that it slows her down a little bit when she does that. Um, we've also used things, just tactile things, where she, can squish, those little squishy kind of balls where she can squish. And we also have looked at, you can make your own, but I found a really cool little online. It's like a lava lamp that doesn't need to be turned on. So when you flip it, the colors, there must be oil and water because the colors, the bubbles will start floating really calmly inside this little cylinder. And so those are some ways because I do know that it does it does take some very intentional working with her to be able to get her to practice that. And I've also noticed we have to do it when she's not upset. We have to
Correct.
practice it when she's not having the meltdown so that when she does have the meltdown, she's more inclined to try.
Victoria, I think that's such, I'm so glad that you just said that because, when we're going through schools and we're trying to teach different strategies to help students self-regulate, that's one of the main things that we have to focus on to make sure that we teach them when they're calm these strategies and skills so then that when they are heightened, they know exactly what you're talking about and they can reflect and say, oh, know what she's talking about and they can go ahead and correlate the two because you can't teach it in the moment. it
Yeah.
they're not going to be able to register that.
And I also, I have found that uh, when I was a teacher in the classroom, that I love the phrase download your calm. So if you're not practicing as the adult these self-regulation strategies, it's going to be really hard when a child is really throes of, a temper tantrum or they're just having such a difficult time
Yes.
because immediately you can feel that, you're tensing up, you're
Right.
responding to this. So the
Right.
more you can stay calm, then you can download. And one of the tricks that I used to use in the classroom is instead of trying to get louder with my voice to go over if a child was having some type of a meltdown, I would drop my
I
voice.
did the same thing. I would try to go as low as I possibly could, but
Yeah,
the
and I
reason for this is you're regulating your breathing. You're regulating your breathing and you're really calming your heart down and you're calming your body and your brain and you're giving it time to really process. And I was going to say, I think that for adults, one of the quick strategies that we can use, because we kind of have to, we're the adults, so we have to be able to react quicker in our calm down strategies sometimes. I think breathing, just using that 3, 2, 1, just it takes 2 seconds, but it'll quickly at least allow you to see the situation clear and level headed so that you can respond in the way that your child will receive it best.
yes, I heard, especially if you can do it 3 times, slow in and out, slow out, you do it 3 times, that it creates a physiological change in your body. And then you're more likely to be able to then what I call download that calm to a child. Um, and I did go ahead and put in the chat any of our families, the parents that are uh, participating tonight. We learn from you all the time. So if you have ways that you work with children to help kind of get them to self-regulate and be able to de-stress, we always welcome those ideas in the chat. Or if you've heard a particular strategy or idea that you really like, go ahead and let us know in the chat that, that was something that really resonated with you.
I like that someone said in the chat that they listen to music, or some people pray, or they go for walks, or, they really individualize what they do for themselves. So I appreciate you all, putting that in there, because sometimes just going for a walk to, go away from the situation is what's best.
So we are definitely asking any of our families, go ahead and let us know in the chat. We really appreciate the ideas that are being shared. Um, and Zanetta, honestly, this has been really helpful, even though I taught elementary school and I spent a lot of time with young children in the primary grades, and I have grandchildren. This is always a good reminder of some of those things. Oh, awesome. Yaneska, thank you. Yaneska is saying that she's trying to introduce her child to meditation, just 5 minutes,
Yes.
but she loves technology and YouTube. And so just to be quiet is sometimes like a punishment for her. So how can she help her children appreciate the quiet moments and not feel, oh, Yaneska, your English is fabulous. You do not need to
Absolutely.
feel sorry for English because you're doing
Absolutely.
great. And I so appreciate that you are actively participating with us. So yeah, I think that's a great point. Our kids are so used to constant stimulation that taking a quiet moment sometimes can feel like it's not positive, that somehow they're in trouble or it's something negative.
Yes, could I suggest maybe, because I think that's a beautiful thing, and it's so needed to just appreciate the quiet, and it sometimes I think for some it becomes a scary place or a place of uncertainty because we're so used to having noise all around us. But sometimes our environment, if we can just shift how we do it, you may have a better response. So maybe if you have a patio, or just go outside your front door and say, I'm going to take this moment, just take in the quiet around you, and then let's go ahead and practice our 5 minutes. They might be a little bit more inclined to say, okay, I like this. Sometimes getting outside, it just does something for us naturally where it calms us, especially if it's like early in the morning or depending what time you do it. Where outside is more quiet, you're able to just, kind of take it all in, and that might help them appreciate that quiet more. And as they get older, they're able to then take that inside the house and say, hey, I just want my 5 minute break.
And as you were talking, honestly, my brain went like pop. But I was thinking too, my kids used to love to make some type of a fort or a tent. And so if you make taking that quiet time maybe a little fun, so that we're not just stopping and sitting, like you said, and being quiet, but if you have, my goodness, they have kids tents out there all the time that are easy to pop up and pop down, and or even just, throw a blanket over
Or
two chairs.
sheet. Yeah, I think the kids love the old sheet and the chairs. Like,
Right, the
that's still a
old-fashioned
go-to.
fort, and sit under it. I'm wondering, Ioneska, if that might help as well. Um, I definitely am hoping that you do find a way for your child to feel that it's not some type of a punishment, because it's a great idea, and I really applaud you for actively taking time to try and help them um, to go ahead and be able to find meditation as a tool. I also saw in
Yes.
the chat, it looks like we might have Forsyth Woods Elementary School with us tonight.
Oh,
So welcome.
awesome.
I'm
Hi,
glad
welcome.
you're here. That's really great. Um, and there, yes, Magda, how are you? Good to hear from you, Magda. She said her granddaughter will go outside and ride her scooter, and then she'll come and talk to them. So
Beautiful, beautiful.
yes, because I think sometimes, kids, we underestimate the fact that kids are built to move. And
Hmm.
for a lot of our children, they do their best thinking when they are moving.
That's true. And it's
Not
just
in,
like us adults, just like we said in this presentation, a lot of the stressors that kids go through, us as adults can understand. So, your granddaughter's way of going outside and riding her bike is the same equivalent for me as me I'm just going to go for a walk. I'm just going to clear my mind. I'm going to go for a walk. So the child is riding the bike, the adults are walking, or maybe we're going on our, maybe we're going on our bikes. But, it's very good that she already is equipped with that skill set to know this is how I calm down. She's already self-regulating. She's doing it. And then she's able to go ahead and talk out her problems. So that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for all that participation in the chat. We really do appreciate it. I noticed too right now that Zanetta, you've got some ideas for not just reflecting, but making some connections. So share those with us.
Yes, yes. So, before, let me go ahead and go through. Here we go. All right. So, self-regulation is a lifelong practice. So, have patience with yourself, take care of yourself, and as a parent, so you can be a supportive co-regulator. I want everyone right now just in the chats to go ahead and give themselves a pat on the back because as parents, it is really hard. It is. And you're raising children, you're raising our next generation. And co regulating is a helpful tool to manage anxiety and stress and also help you as a parent make strong connections with your child. You are helping your child become more well balanced. And that is a beautiful thing to show them that they have a support system. So, do we have any other questions before we wrap up our session? Let us know if there's anything that you would like to ask or if you would like to share any of your thoughts that you have with the group. We'll go ahead and give you a few minutes to respond. I want to thank everyone who is participating and was able to come out tonight. This is an investment in yourself as well as in your children. So I just want to take the time to say thank you. I thank you for having me, and this has just been, such a great pleasure being here tonight with you all.
As we're waiting, there we go. Yes, absolutely, Ineska. I'm very glad that you got something out of the ideas and the time. And I want to say thank you for your time because the parents that are joining us tonight, you're investing in building your knowledge, your skill set, so that you can ultimately build your child's skill set. And so we are always very grateful for the parents that join us and take
Yes.
to do that because it does take a community. It takes all of us
Yes, it
to be
does.
able to make sure that our children are getting what they need. So very, very welcome.
All right, so I just want to say, everyone, thank you again. Thank you so much, Magna. Thank you, Unesca. Thank you so much. Thank you for attending. In order to best meet your needs for future sessions, please provide us with your feedback using the survey link in the chat box. We appreciate your honest feedback. So the link is, we just shared the link and add says and do, okay. So the provide, let me see here. We have the directions here. Everyone can see that. Perfect. All right, so feel free to use this slide as, we'll just wait here for a little bit and see if there's any questions for anyone who is lingering around before we close out.
And if I may, I really like to do a bit of a shameless plug. Our next in-person Parent Academy is literally this Saturday in
Yes.
2 days' time. And it's called Championing Your Child, Getting Them What They Need When They Need It. And this session will be also part of our face-to-face this Saturday for parents who might have missed it tonight. But we have some wonderful sessions that will allow parents to really look at how they can support their children. And this isn't just if your child is part of the ESE program. We have information for your child needs more opportunities in the arts, or you want to know how do I help my elementary schooler with their math, or even what are some of the resources for middle and high school math? Because I'll tell you right now, if I had to help a child with math, it is definitely different than it used to be. I don't feel as confident. And this is where you'll really learn some of the strategies that the children are learning. So when they come to you, you go to show them, they're like, that's not the way we do it at school.
Right.
We will have opportunities to know what is the way they do it
What
at
is this
school.
new math? What is this new math
Right.
that you all are talking about?
And if this session really kind of helped you as well, we also have a speaker from DBT of Orlando that if you've got teenagers that, it's hard. Teenagers are hard. Butting heads, trying to parent while there's a lot of emotion and there might be conflict. They're a great resource and they'll be doing a session. We have 2 Spanish only sessions that will be taking place. So it really is. We give free daycare through our youth academy. The children get art, they get PE, they're able to do sessions from the Orange County Library System. They always leave with a free book. And the best part is we give everyone free lunch. So you will get fed, and we do have some wonderful vendors in our exhibit hall. So this Saturday, Apopka High School from 10 until 2 o'clock. If you can, please come see us out there, and I think you'll have a really amazing day. So Netta, I cannot thank you enough. This was really a wonderful opportunity. I see, yes, there's emojis. This was a
Yes.
wonderful time to spend with you, and I can tell them
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I appreciate all the parents, and thank you so much for your support and your time as well.
Well, have a good night, everyone. Be safe, and hopefully we will see you soon. Take care.
Bye bye.